All right. We are now live recording. How's everybody doing today? Donnie says, crush my first trade. Nico, following your notes. Exactly. Thank you. You're welcome. Glad it worked out for you, Daloon. Good, 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 good. All right, guys. Yeah. They don't always work out exactly the way we want, obviously. But what I've noticed in the chat, guys, and I will go over that today, is that um, the signals tend to usually go into profit at some point, whether it's right away or later before hitting a stop loss. And what I think the problem that most people have is that they don't get into the trade until it's too late. They don't take the actual signal when it's given, or they see that it's going down a little bit after I've given the signal and they say they wait, or they go the other way, they go short. Or if I was going long in the signal, they'll go short because it's not going the exact direction that I said it would. But then it turns around and goes into profit. And then I see a lot of chat. Should we go long? Should we go short? Should we go long? Should we go short? I'm still long in the signal that I gave. So it's hard for me to say, yeah, go long now when you already missed the pump up. And so sometimes you got to just act without overthinking it. Take the signal and then move your stop loss to break even, then move your stop loss into profit, then move your stop loss more into profit, and then close the trade out. You don't even have to wait for it to hit the TP. That's, I think, another problem a lot of people have is it didn't hit the TP, so they don't think they think they're going to go short now or something like that. But it's not always time to go short after a trade. I'm gonna share my screen here and show you what I mean. But sometimes there's just a consolidation period where it pulls back and then continues back up the way it was going. All right, so let me just this and do this. I'm gonna share my screen now. Got 100 people on. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, I know this might look a little messy, but I'm gonna try to clean this up a little bit for you. Been talking about this overall bull flag that we've been in for a while. This big one here that resembles this one here. Let me go to a higher time frame so you can see. We were in one just now, right? This one up here. Resembling this one here, where we come up from you see where we were up here and then we come back up. We were up here and then we come back up. We're coming back up and hitting previous all-time highs. We had a big bull flag. This one lasted about 7.5 months. Lower highs and lower lows before it finally broke out and pumped up almost 60%. And then this one. And then we had the following wedge here. We had a following wedge here, which was very bullish. Broke to the upside, pumped up again just to barely get higher than previous all-time high here. All-time high was at 109. We got to 112 here. And then we went into this bullish flag, very similar to this one here. I'm going to take this line from somewhere here and put it over here. Oops. And then if we zoom in, you can see we've been, I was actually expecting it to stay in this flag for a little while longer, but we had already broken out. And I think I told you guys, like this one here, generally right before a breakout of a big bull flag like this, generally we're going to see a pullback. We're going to hit the top and we're going to pull back 50% of the way. That's what happened here. We pulled back 50% and then we broke out. Very similarly, in this current one right now, let me just zoom in. I'm not sure if that's really the 50% mark, but we had some support, resistance, support, and resistance. We break out, we pull back right to it, just about. Let me just put that right there. Hit it, and then we did get out. Here's the weird thing here that's going on. We did get out of this top resistance line. If I put the trend line to the top of the wicks, I am on the daily time frame right now, the very tip top of all the wicks, then you can see right here we broke out. But where did we break out to? Right up to the same level as these wicks here where I have these circles, which is about the the 110, 110.5 range. And then we come back below the flag, the top of this bull flag, this upward, this top downward trending resistance. We broke above it and then we came back below it. And then we broke above it, came back below it. And then we just broke above it again. So we go down to the lower time frames. You can see we are still currently above it. This is where we broke above it, came back below, broke above it, came back below, broke above it, retested, held a support, made a higher high, and we are upward trending in the short term. This is the most recent support line right here, upward trending and hitting a ceiling here. That's resistance, the most recent resistance, right? It's not the same 110 that we've been hitting going all the way back to here, but we do have another little resistance level here, which is the 109.7. So we hit it, fell, and hit it. And so what are we doing now? We are winding into an apex. The apex is the floor is getting higher and higher and higher. The ceiling is saying the ceiling. And so we are going to wind into an apex. So the apex is what's called a trade setup. What we're waiting for is a breakout. And the breakout can go either way. We can break to the bottom and then fall back down, or we can break to the top. We can break out up to the top, but we need to hold support here once we break out in order for us to go long. Here we broke out, but came back below. Broke out, came back below. Broke out, came back below. It needs to get above it and hold above it as support. And generally speaking, what we do, I know I sound like a parrot repeating this, but when we break out and we come back to retest, we want to bounce and we want it to get higher on the bounce than it was when it broke out. So in other words, like here, for instance, we would have wanted this to get above this red line. We would have wanted to hold above it and then climb above higher than this, but it didn't. So I think another big mistake a lot of people make is as soon as they see it breaking out, like as soon as you see it going above this red line, you go long, and that's premature. You should wait for a retest. Whenever you have major resistance like this, it usually needs to hold it as support. Otherwise, it will fall back down and continue to hold it as resistance. So right here is what we're waiting. We're waiting to, we did not hit this circle over here yet. So we're waiting for that to break out wherever that's going to happen. It has not done it yet. In my signal this morning or yesterday, I can't remember when I gave it, I think it was last night. Right here, yesterday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, BTC update and signal, short-term scalp. I'm long, entry 109.092, stop loss 108.521, 10% of entry for me, TP 110.200. Then stop loss moved to 108.180 for now. I moved the stop loss down a little bit. So I entered somewhere around here, I can't remember. And then I moved the stop loss down below these wicks, 108, 180. Below this wick and below this upward trend line. And then as it started to climb this morning and overnight, when I woke up this morning, moved stop loss into profit at 109. Of course, I put this at 8:30 this morning. BTC running up, moved my stop loss up a little bit to 108.766. First resistance will be at 109.7. I already had the blue line there. I had the arrows pointing, so you can see first resistance would be at 109.7. That was at 8:30 this morning. And that was the first resistance right here, 109.7. I think it hit 109.744 to be exact. And then came back down to retest. Came back down to retest what? Look at these. Resistance, 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 breakthrough, hit that as resistance, came back down to retest as support. What was resistance just became support. That's positive. Okay. And then we also have this upward trending resistance. Once we did wick down below it, but we held above this line. So now would be probably a good time to re-enter. Let's look at where we think it's going. Probably right up to my original TP, 110, 200, which would be this line up here where I have these other circles. Wouldn't that make sense? That would go right to the next. I mean, this was the resistance, and that's what it came up to first. This is the next resistance. Anybody want to wager that it's going to hit that right on the nose? That's my theory. So yeah, so because we're holding above this upward trend line, because we did wick up to this resistance and come down and hold as support, which we didn't before, right here, look at this. This was support here, and we did make a higher high up to that level. This was resistance here at the same place it was here. We came down and hit support here, which was the top of the downward trending resistance line. But also, if I bring this over, coincidentally, it's also right there. Boom. Made a higher high, hit that top, came back down, retested again, hit it here, retested this as resistance, fell back below, retested as resistance, and then dropped. Then came back up, tried it again, resistance, broke through, resistance, support, did not make a higher high, double topped, fell back down, double bottomed, and now it's climbing back up. Hit resistance, broke through, holding as support. So it's either going to come back up and hit resistance again on this line, 109.7, but it's probably going to break through. I'm going to go long right now, live on this call. And let's just do, I'm not going to play, screw it. I got 50,000 contracts, 19x leverage, market order, long. Boom. I'm going to go and this is how I do it. First, I place the trade. Then I come down here to TPSL. I hit the little pencil. I click here, ROI percentage. I just put this to 10% just to get it on the board, confirm. Now my stop loss is on the board at 10%. That's 10% of my entry. It's going to be a different price for you. That's why when I give my signal, guys, I usually put stop loss 108,521, 10% of entry for me. I want you to, because if you go do what I just did and hit 10%, yours might be at a different price because of the amount of contracts you have, because of the leverage you have. Your whole trade is a little different than mine, right? But it should be. Now, and notice where it is when I did that. It's right under that wick, which is kind of close. You see, even though we're holding above this support, it did wick down that low once before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my stop loss. I'm going to move it down a little further. In fact, I'm going to move it down below, just a little below, to 108,227. And that is below this wick and also the 200-day moving average, just in case. Now, as this starts to go up, and I'm in profit, 10, 15%, whatever the case may be, I'm already in profit right now, but as it starts to go up, I will eventually soon move my stop loss up to break even or in profit to prevent losing anything on this trade. On the other hand, if it just falls below this upward trend line and starts to come down, what I'm going to wait for, I'm not going to just close the trade out. What I'm going to wait for is to see if it falls, if it holds as resistance and then starts to drop. Because if that happens and this gets lower than where it breaks through, if it falls to here below this line, like it did here, like it did here, like it did here, but it just sucks right back up, then that's okay. But if it falls below and can't get back up, hits as resistance, and then starts to come down again, I will close the trade out. And I will just probably reverse my position because that means that this upward trend support is no longer holding. And then I can make a more intelligent trade by knowing what's actually happening at the moment. Right now, I'm assuming that it's holding because it has been so far, and it is bouncing on this support, which it has done before here and here. And both times it went up to a higher high. Right here, it went up to equal high right here. You know, worst case scenario, like I said, it's just going to double top here like it did here. And even if then it comes down, that's okay. I'll have my stop loss and profit, or even close the trade out up here, like I did on the last signal. When it popped up to this level, if you remember right here, guys, stop loss moved to 108, 180 for now. And then again, stop loss moved into profit at 109, 200. I moved my stop loss to 109, 200 when it was right here at 109, 700. I moved my stop loss right up to about here. And that's when it came down and took me out. But still a winner, $500, $800, something like that. And I had 2 open positions, so it was almost $1,000. So that's just scalping 101. Didn't hit my TP, but I certainly moved my stop loss way into profit because once it gets up here, guys, I already know that this is resistance, right? So the only thing that's going to make me stay in this trade is if it breaks through. But if it doesn't break through and it's going to come back down, it's going to do the same thing these did. So why let it come all the way back down and take away all the profit I just made and, and lose the potential gain I could have had? So I just closed the trade out up here. When it comes back down and I show support again and starts to bounce and climb, I just re-enter like I just did. I'm up, $60 on this little trade right now. I'm 109.050. I will put it in with the trade signal channel because some people get mad at me when I take trades on the live calls and don't put it in the one oh nine oh five oh. Oops. I can't remember what it was. Stop loss is at 108.227. What percentage was that for me? I think I moved it. It was 10%, but now it is 14%. TP1, again, I'm going to do 110, 200. Let's just go and make sure. Right up here, that's 110, 350. I'm going to front run that a little bit to 110, 200. Yeah, that's why it takes a while just to post a signal, guys, and that's why sometimes the price moves a little bit. You're like, oh, I can't get the same entry. No, sorry, it took me 5 whole minutes to post that. But sometimes you get a much better entry than me. All right. Hello, Laurie. Welcome, welcome. Jeff, welcome, welcome. Hi, newbie. Should not take these trades, right? Newbies should not take these trades, right? Carmela asks, well, if you know what you're doing, but make sure you understand. Bill answered that question. Thank you, Bill. It's best to understand the mechanics before entering real trades. Yes, I agree. but you can certainly learn by watching. AD&D Investments. I don't know who I'm speaking to, but Nico does BTC price usually go towards liquidating the high volumes in the liquidity map. Yeah, so whenever you go on to the liquidation heat map, what I do is I always change this to Binance BTC USD perpetual. I know that some of you might be trading on USDT and you might pick any random thing here, but Binance has the most aggregate, meaning they're accumulating their information from the majority, the most sources, right? So I just click on that. That's just me. I do the 12-hour and then I refresh. And so whenever you see yellow, bright yellow, fluorescent, the highest color, and then somewhere in this range up here in the greens, the bright greens and the yellows, like up here and below here, then generally speaking, the price tends to trend towards those liquidation, those liquidity pools. So the liquidity pools, and when they do hit that, by the way, guys, what does that actually mean when the price actually gets down to this yellow or gets up to this green? Does anybody know what that actually is happening when that happens? People are getting liquidated. That could be someone who's short here who has a liquidation here. Their liquidation is here, but they went short here, or they went short down here, and the price is getting away from them, and it gets all the way up there, and boom, they get liquidated. So they get liquidated, and then bam, the price drops back down. Or vice versa. They went long here, right? And they're in profit. Their liquidation is down here at 1065, let's just say, hypothetically. And this starts to come down, and they're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, boom. What does it do? Goes down right to 107, 106, boom, liquidates them. That's where the majority of people's liquidation is. Why is it so strong in certain areas? Because most people are taking the same trades and their liquidity is at the same place. The majority of the people. That's right, Joe. It's called hive mind theory, 100th monkey syndrome, whatever you want to call it. Basically, most people think alike.
Do most people not put a stop loss on?
Some people are in long-term trade positions. Some people, and by the way, guys, some of this is a lot of money. Some of this is big players. Some of these are people with millions of dollars on the table. And yeah, some people don't use stop losses. A lot of people don't use stop losses. Even people in this group, many times, even including myself sometimes. But it depends on what your goal is. So if you're in a long-term position, a long-term trade, meaning I'm shorting because I don't think it's going to get higher, so I'm going to ride it all the way down, the bear market all the way down. But I do realize that it's at 106,000 right now, and I do realize it could go up to 112 before it drops. So I have to be prepared to go negative that much if I'm going to do that. And that could get really close to liquidation, and that could be scary for a lot of people to do. So we don't recommend doing it unless you can afford to do that, to take that risk or to take that hit. And we never recommend doing that, really, to be honest with you. That is a high risk trade. But the only reason that some people do high risk trades is because, well, one, they're either adrenaline junkies, or two, they either are very confident in what's going to happen, or they have a lot of very safe trades as well. They've allocated a certain amount of risk capital for that trade. They're okay to lose it in case it doesn't work, but they also know that if it does work and it does go their direction, they will make an absolute fortune, life-changing sometimes. And people are willing to take those risks. You ever see the person that, you know, goes to the horse track and, you know, puts $20,000 or $50,000 on a horse? The odds of that happening is much less than what we're doing here. But, and a lot of those people can't even afford the loss, but, and most gamblers can't afford the loss either. They're just addicted to gambling. But if you can afford it and you know what you're doing, every once in a while, at least for me anyway, every once in a while, it's therapeutic for me. Like some people can't handle that stress. I'm numb to it. Um, I don't, I don't have any emotional attachment. I can't say it's always been like that. I mean, there was a time when I did. So somebody asked, how do you make these circles? I think it was answered, but I'll show you right here. So you come over here to, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where the little pencil is, right? Where you can get the brush or the arrows, and you just scroll down to circles. And then you just, wherever you want to put the circle, you tap it and go sideways with it. And then if you want to move it, you move it from the center circle. If you want to get rid of it, you right click on it and remove it. So let's go look at what Crypto Face is talking about on Market Cipher. Do you happen to know, Kip, what time frame he's on? That doesn't really matter. You can find it. So if I'm on my trading view right now, I'm going to add Market Cipher B, Market Cipher A, Market Cipher. Okay, so right now, on Market Cipher, I am on the weekly time frame. We do have a green dot right here on the weekly. Also, as I was showing you guys on, if I go to the weekly RSI, you remember down here, the blue line crossed the orange line to the downside. The blue line got below the 80 on the RSI, and the orange line got below the 80. And then the blue line turned up right here at the last second and went back above the orange line. Sorry, son. If you're not talking to me, mute yourself out, Sonaville. So that is a positive, bullish sign right there. Let's go back over to trading view. So I'm not sure what Crypto Face was talking about or what time frame he was on, but let's just look at this. There's I mean, look at all the dots here. You got red dot, green dot, red dot, green dot. Every time there's an up and down on the daily, but this is strong money flow, but we also have a wave coming in, and we do have a green dot. Let's go to the weekly. We got a green dot on the weekly and money flowing out up. You see that? See that little bit of wave coming up from that? What that could be like right here, guys, is something very similar to this, where we have a wave up, we got a red dot and a curve down, and then a green dot. So let's look at what that did last time that happened. Doesn't happen often, but let's just go look. Right here, we got a big pump up. We come down. We got another green dot right here, and then we got a huge pump to the upside.
He's bouncing between 6 hour and 12 hour, Nico.
Okay. Let's go to the, let's go to the 12-hour. Got it. And we got green dots on the 12-hour. We got money flowing in. We got green on the RSI. We got green down here. I am long, by the way. We did go long on that last signal here. Let's just go back and look and see where we're at. Up $100 right now at the moment. This does look like a bull flag that we're breaking out of. We do have a big curve on the stochastic RSI. This looks bullish, guys. It looks bullish, but we still gotta break out of the 112, the 110.5, and then the 112 up here. There's actually another line up here at 112. That is the all-time high of Bitcoin. I'm gonna make this a little thinner. Zoom. That is the tip top right there. Boom. So we're right about here right now at 109,282. We would have to get above the 110 to 200, which is where we hit resistance, resistance, resistance several times. And then, and every time we did, by the way, since the all-time high, every time we hit 110.2, we came back down. 110.2 came back down. 110.2 came back down, but not all the way. We only came down to the halfway mark. So this might be different this time. And we're trying again. So we're long. That's good. It's bullish at the moment. Prashin says, Nico, do you risk different amounts based on high probability trades? Yes and no. In the beginning, when I first enter the trade, I usually risk a small amount. And then once I have confirmation that it's going to do what I want it to do, sometimes I will add more contracts and maybe even increase leverage, or at the very least, add more contracts. All that means, what I just said is that, like, I just entered this position, right? I just entered this position right here. I am positive right now. I'm up $100. It's up 4% or so. And once I start to see that it's climbing, the first thing I do is I will move my stop loss down here up into profit. In fact, right now, just because it is bouncing here and climbing, I'm going to move my stop loss back up underneath this level somewhere, just in case it drops when I'm not paying attention. I would rather lose less than more, but because I'm confident this is going to continue. But once this gets up close to this level, once it starts to double top up here at the 109.5 or 109.2 range, whatever it is, 109, 109.5, let's just say. Once it starts to get up to this level, I will have my stop loss somewhere here in profit. And then if it breaks through this and holds as support and starts to climb, I will increase my contracts probably by double. And what will happen when I do that is my entry will go up higher. Once I add, let's just say I have 100 contracts right now. I have 50,000 contracts right now. Let's say I double that to 100,000. If I double it to 100,000 up here, this entry will move 50% of the way between where it's at now and my new entry where I add another 50,000 contracts. So my entry will change. So my percentage gain will have changed, but now I am trading with twice as much money. So if it continues to go up, I will be making more money than I would have been if I would have just stayed where I was. On the other hand, guys, if I add more contracts here, 50% more or 100% more, and it falls back below, then I will be losing more money than I would have had I left it alone. So what we're talking about really is greed. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with greed. It's a natural human instinct or emotion, but it's usually greed that causes us to want to double down on our bets. And sometimes that can come back and bite you in the ass, is all I'm saying. So you got to be careful with that. You got to make sure it's going to do what you want it to do. It's hard to know. It's hard to know that without experience. So, but I would say that if we get above this line, as you can see, we've hit it many times and we gotten above it a couple of times, but it didn't hold above it. Kept falling back below. So what it needs to do is get above it and then hold and start to climb. Then you can be pretty confident it's going to at least go to this level. If it gets above that and holds and starts to climb, then you're going to be pretty confident it's going to get to this level, which is the 112, the next all-time high. So everything is incremental.
Hey, Nico.
Yes.
How do you add those contracts?
So right now, just to give you an example, I got 50,000 for 639 contracts. If I want to add more contracts right now, I come up here and I just slide this to the amount of contracts that I want to add. That's 19% right here, but you can see if I go long, it's 17,000 more contracts. Just click long, boom. I just added 17,000 more contracts. Now I'm at 67,000 contracts. And as you can see, my entry moved up a little bit because of it. I'm still up the same amount. I'm still up the same amount of dollars, but my percentage gain went down a little bit because my new entry put me a little higher than I was before.
Is there any difference between doing that and just starting a new order?
You can't on this. If you're like I'm trading on a Bitcoin margin, if you add more contracts, it's going to add to the same trade unless you do a trade in the opposite direction. If I do a short right now and keep this long open and I do a short, then that will be a new order betting on a short. You can do both. You can do a long and a short on USDT at the same time. That's an arbitrage. You better know what you're doing if you do that. We do talk about it here and there, but we don't necessarily recommend it unless you got experience doing it. Because you need to know that if you went long here, you need to know that it's probably not going to get past a certain level and it's going to come back down. So you're going to make money on the long. And as soon as it hits hits up here, you're going to close the long. And then when it comes back down here, it's going to start to go profitable on your short. So, but the reason why you do them both down here is because as you're going positive on the long, you're going negative on the short. So you're balancing everything out. If you had to close both positions at the same time, you would be breaking even. But if it starts to come down on you, then your long is going to go less and less negative, less and less negative. Then your long is going to go negative, but your short is going to start to go positive and make up for that. So you're kind of always working at a break-even point. At some point, though, you got to close one of them and then close the other one to profit on both of them. So if I were to go short right now at the exact same location that I went long, and this started to go up like it is, my long would go positive, 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 positive. My short would go negative, 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 negative. And then once it gets to where I think it's going to turn around, I will close the long, take the profit, and then ride it back down until my short is negative. But the reason why I would do both at the same time and not just wait for that to happen to go short, because wouldn't it be better if I just rode the long up and then closed it out and then went short up here and rode that down? That would be better. But that's knowing the future, and I don't have a crystal ball. So because of that, you go long and short down here, you ride the long up, your negative is going negative. I mean, your short is going negative while your long is going positive. You close the long out up here, take the profit, because your short will be negative, but it's unrealized loss. It's not realized loss. So you're not losing money on the short until you close it out. Now, if this thing just keeps going, you're screwed. If it just keeps going up, then your short is going to get more and more negative, and you are going to eventually get liquidated. This is why we don't recommend it unless you absolutely know what you're doing and you know how to get in and out of both of them with profit. You've heard the old saying, robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's kind of what you're doing. And you can get away with it as long as you rob Peter to pay Paul and then make money somewhere else to pay back Peter without Peter knowing or Paul knowing. You can only get away with that so many times before you get caught or screwed, right? People do that all the time. People try to do that all the time, right? They borrow from someone, Peter, and they pay Paul, and then they borrow from Jan and pay Peter, and then they borrow from Steve to pay Jan. You can keep that going on for a long time, but eventually, if you can't pay one of these people, you're screwed. So you're going to lose. So you just got to be careful with that kind of trading. There are people in the group that do it regularly. I'm trying to remember who off the top of my head. Bill might know, but they're good at it. They understand the game. I would recommend that you guys just understand or just become consistently profitable first before you start playing around with all these other kinds of strategies. If you want to become a professional poker player or blackjack player, you should learn a lot first before you go betting big money. you should become consistently a consistent winner first, right? Yeah, Donnie, like the mafia. John, short above the long should look like a stoplight. So John, yeah, I was trying to remember who did it. John does it. Should look like a stoplight. That's funny.
Alec Nico's too, but we haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah. Where's Alex at?
And he hasn't been here in a minute.
He's on vacation. He took all his profits and took off. He was tired of answering questions. See,
That's the right answer.
yeah, this coaching and teaching thing is not for everyone. There's people in this group that make a lot of money. They start posting their wins, and then they start getting bombarded with questions from everyone in the group. Hey man, how did you do that? And they're not here to teach you. They're here to learn. And then they start learning, and then they start making money. And then they're like, oh shit, everybody wants my little secret. Everybody wants me to show them what I just did. And then before you know it, they're like, well, I'm not getting paid to do that. So then they disappear. Don't be mad at them. Don't hold it against them. They didn't come here to teach. But then again, on the other hand, there's a lot of people, by the way, Alex Nikos is one of them, who were very happy to post their signals in the members' idea section, but it did start to take a toll on him because people were bombarding him with DMs. So that's probably the reason. I don't know the reason for sure, but I know that's happened before with people in the past. And so just be conscious of that when you're sending DMs to other members wanting to know their little trick or strategy. Guys, there's no real tricks or strategy. It's patience, it's understanding support and resistance, knowing when to get in and when to get out. And we're trying to teach it to you. Some people just learn it and become disciplined. It's like seeing somebody who's really in good shape physically and walking up and asking them how they did it. How did you do it? How did you get your body fat so low?
Well, once you get the concepts down, what Alec Nikos is doing is just one strategy to add to your tool belt. And that's one thing that I learned coming here. Alec Nikos is just, one person that employs a strategy. But you can learn from John Larson and a lot of the other guys in the group and put that all in a melting pot. And once you got the concepts down, you can pretty much trade anything.
That's right. That's what I keep trying to tell everybody, guys. We're here to teach you. I mean, I can't possibly, on Chad, none of us can possibly give you every trade signal that's out there. There's hundreds of cryptos going up and down all day, every day. We can't know everything that is happening throughout the whole market. I can't possibly be watching every single crypto. And Nico, you missed this one. Did you see what happened to Dogecoin? Did you see what happened to Fartcoin? No, I didn't. I'm sorry. I was busy living my life. I'm not watching every crypto. I'm teaching you how to trade, and I usually stick to Bitcoin futures contracts because once you understand the concepts and you understand how to scalp or how to go long, how to go short, where to put your stop loss, take profit targets, then like a lot of the other members who learn here, watch this. When you go into the Discord group and you go into the wins wall and you look at a lot of these other members here, guys, they're posting their wins from all kinds of cryptos. Pengu. Fartcoin, Charles killing it on Fartcoin this week. BTC, Nomi, she's been in the group for like almost 2 years now, I think, something like that, maybe a year and a half. Look at all these. Syrup, what's this one? Punk US. I never even heard of it. I never even heard of that. 1,000 Pepe, Deep, H-bar. This is all simultaneously. XLM. Did I give these signals? No. She doesn't need me to do that. She knows exactly what she's doing now. So once you learn how to do this, you go find, all you got to do is go over to Femex, click up here. I'm trading on Bitcoin as usual. I'm trying to accumulate more of it on a Bitcoin margin. And this trade signal I gave this morning or last night, guys, I made, almost, I don't know what it was, $1,200 or $1,500 before I went, while I was having my coffee and before I went for a walk this morning. So you don't need to trade a million different things to make money. You just need to know when to get in, when to get out. So this signal this morning, all I did was, we moved, not the most recent one that we're in right now, but the one from yesterday at 3:29 p.m. I moved my stop loss into profit, moved it into profit to 109.2, got stopped out with a big profit because I moved it right up to here. Right when it hit 109.7, I moved my stop loss right up to here because I already knew that it's possible to pull back from hitting this resistance because it's done it. In fact, I set it right here. My stop loss has moved to 109.6, might get another pop up to 109.85 or so, but might fall back, rather capture the profits. That's what it did. It went up. It could have popped up to 109.8, but it didn't. It just fell right back. And then it held support here, so we just re-entered. Now we're long again. I have a feeling it's probably going to come back up to this level, 109.7. And if it breaks this time, I'm expecting it to come to here, which is the 110.2 range. Because of this, because of all of these other times that it hit this level. Hold on, I gotta go to the higher time frame. And then great if it goes through that. But we are breaking out of this overall bull flag right now. We are above the top resistance line. But these circles right here indicate the resistance at 110, 110.2, between 110.2 and 110.5. We only went above that once to 112, and we came back below it and then retested. So this is the level we're coming up to. I mean, once we get past this red line at 109.7, that's the area we're coming up to right here. I have that circle there, but it's very small. And then if we get above that, great. Then the next resistance is 112. That's the all-time high. But it's all incremental as far as I'm concerned. We got to get through that level. And as you can see, we are in an upward trending support coming into a wedge, an apex. And that apex is the resistance at 109.7, which we've hit several times over the past week. We went above it a little bit here to 110.5 and then came back below and retested as resistance. We tried it again here, hit it again here. We're upward trending. We're in the wedge. This is a trade setup. This is an apex, and a breakout is imminent. It's either going to hit this and break out finally and hit this, or it's going to hit this, come back down. Hit this, come back down. And if it breaks to the downside, then yeah, sure, we can fall back down. Where are we going to fall down to? Probably here. Why? Because that is the top, or the top side of the previous resistance that we've been banging our head against all the way since back here in May. This was the all-time high of 112. This was the very highest we got since then. And then this was the high here. We broke through here, retested a support, went up, came back below, went above it, came back below, went above it, held a support. Now we're climbing again. So the way I look at it is this is a nice little scalp. Some people might be waiting for a big breakout. And the big breakout, I think, would be just getting above this 109.7 here, guys, or 109.5, and holding it as support. That would be important because we haven't done that yet over the last week, but we need it above it, hold it as support, start climbing. And if that happens and we get higher than the breakout, we're probably going to hit 110.2. And if we get above that and hold that as support, then yeah, next one, 112, all-time high. And I think it's about time that we do start retesting that. I know that some of you think I've been bearish recently, but that's because we were not making higher highs. We were staying in this downward trending bullish flag. And bull flags do tend to break to the upside. But the last time I saw one like this was down here. I showed you already. Let's just go to the daily. Was this one, and we were in it for 7 months. This one here before we broke out. But the one thing that I did recognize here, guys, is that whenever you're in a big bull flag like this and you hit the bottom, then you hit the top, and you hit the bottom, and you hit the top, bottom, top, bottom, top. Right before a breakout, it usually does not come all the way back to the bottom. It comes to the halfway point. That's what this one did. Created a nice W, retested the halfway, and that was the beginning of the breakout. Held as support. Once it broke above it, held as support and climbed up to here. What's here? Why is that? Why is that important? Let's just take a line, draw it from there over to here. That was the all-time high at the time. 73.8 frame. Boom, 73.4. Came up to it, hit that as resistance. Came all the way back down to retest as support, and then finally broke out. So here, after this big falling wedge, we did it. We're doing the same thing. We break out, we come up, we create another bull flag, this could go on for months, but no, it's not. Look at this. Hit the top, hit the bottom. W hit the top, hit the bottom. We come up and hit the top, and this time we wick down to the halfway point. Boom. Once again, that's usually an indication that we're going to break out. And what did it do right after that? Boom, broke out above the top resistance line, came all the way up to the 110.5 resistance, which is the resistance where these circles are. It did fall below again and break out again and fall below again and break out again, but now it's above it. Still above this line. I know I recapped this already once, but we are above this line right now and we're holding a support. That's all positive. If I look at the weekly stochastic RSI, once again, we were crossing the blue line, crossed the orange line to the downside on the weekly, and it was into the blue zone below the 80. And so was the orange line, but they both have turned up since. That rarely ever happens, guys. This is why over the past couple months, I've been telling you, when the blue line crosses the orange line to the downside and it gets below the 80, usually it's a big drop. Usually it's a big drop. This one, we did drop, but just not much. We went from 112 down to 98. That's a pretty big drop, but that was from here to here. But it didn't go any further than that. So luckily, we are good there. I do want to go back and look at market cipher, because market cipher is green on the 12-hour. The 4-hour, look at this. Look at all this money flow coming in on the 4-hour. It's getting wider and wider. It's not even curling yet. So we got some upside to go here. And you see this upward trending support here from back here at 98K. We did hit it here. We did break below it here, and we did come up and retest it here, which is kind of on the way. I mean, we actually hit it right here, which is perfectly even with the 1097 that we were just talking about. So if we break through this, 1097, and then we get to the 110.5, that will be the next resistance. And if we break that, obviously we're going to 112, which is this red line up top. That's the all-time high Bitcoin. And you know what happens if we break that? Now we're going to new all-time high territory. And there's a lot of catalysts out there. I've been saying this all along, even though I was short, over the past few weeks, thinking that we might have already hit the top at 112. And by the way, until it breaks 112, it still could be the top. I don't know. But if we get up past 112, then yeah, parabolic probably 120, 130. Yeah.
Nico,
Yes, sir.
did you move your stop loss into break even?
Did I do what?
Did you keep it below? Did you move your stop loss to break even already?
On the most recent trade?
Yes.
No. Let me go back and I did on the one that I gave last night, but on the one that I did on this live call here today, my stop loss is still down here. I did not move it to break even yet. My stop loss is still down here at 108.743. What did I put in? 108. Oh, it says
108.227.
108.227. Yeah.
I'm in this trade with you.
The reason why it says 108.743 here, and that's where it's at right now, is because I added contracts. And I added contracts and it moved my stop loss to the same percentage it was before I added the contracts. So it did move it up a little bit. Or maybe I moved it up. I can't remember. Did I move it up below? I think I might have moved it up while we were talking. I can move it to break even right now. As you can see, I am in profit, so I can move my stop loss up to break even, but it might be a little premature for that. By the way, guys, whenever you're in a position like we're in right now, and you're actually up, like right now, I'm up $150. What is stopping me from just closing the trade out and taking $150? Nothing. You can do that. No one's stopping you from taking profit. In fact, we always say that You cannot go broke taking profit. So even though I'm still in the trade, even though I'm expecting it to climb up here, if you guys ever feel like taking profit when you're in profit, trust me, it does more than just make you money. It makes you feel good too. Especially if you do that every time you're in profit, you cannot help but become a consistently profitable trader. If I closed out every trade in profit rather than waiting to make more money, or waiting for it to the TP, or waiting for it to do what I wanted it to do, I would have a lot more winning trades. But I'm always waiting for bigger paydays. So, but you know, these are the things that you have to, when you find yourself and when you discover what your exact strategy is and what you like to do. Many people in this group kind of once they learn how to trade, they kind of figure things out, and then they find their own path or their own strategy. And I know we have Paul. Paul is one of our members. I don't know if he's on this call, but Paul, back in the day, he started back with us back 4 years ago. And when we were doing ICOs, his strategy was, and some of our ICOs, they went 10x, 20x, 50x, X, not percentage. His strategy was whenever he was at least 2x or higher, he closed it out and took the profit. He did not care if it was going to go up 5 more X or 10 more X, because that is in the future and you cannot know what the future brings. But when he was actually at 2x or higher, he would just close it out and take the profit. 2x, by the way, is 100% gain. So he was perfectly happy taking 100% gain every time he was at 100% gain. And on some of those, it was very smart that he closed it out at 2x. On some of them, it went up 30x more after that, but he didn't care because he took, I think it was $1,000 at the time, turned it into like $30,000 or $40,000 in a few months, because he was consistently taking the profit whenever he was in profit at 2x, which was very smart. And you got to be disciplined to do this. It's kind of like what we were just talking about earlier, exercise or anything else. You can change your diet and eat right and go for walks every morning. And if you get on the scale and there is no change, and you're like, damn, I'm doing all this for nothing. No, you're getting healthier, you're getting stronger, you're getting better, your lymphatic system is working smoother, you're exercising, you're building muscle, you're doing all these great things. But you're measuring it by whether the scale goes up or down a pound. And the truth is you might have gained a pound of muscle and lost a pound of fat, and it looks like you have not changed at all on your weight. But metabolically, and body composition wise, you're getting better and stronger and even looking better. You just don't realize it. And then you quit because you don't see a change. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is you're getting better every time you get on these calls. Every time you learn a little bit more, even if as long as you're taking action and you're implementing, even if you lose on a trade, because the losing or the stop loss getting hit or the making of the mistakes is how you learn what not to do. A lot of the times, from my experience. So yeah, this looks like, not only that, guys, but this looks like it could be the beginning stages of a nice M pattern or a W. I guess we'll see. It could be a M, and if it comes back down here, that could be an indication of a possible break to the downside, or you could see a nice W, and that could be a nice indication of a break to the upside. Or it's not going to do any one of those things. It's just going to keep going. So that's why, I shouldn't even have said what I just said, because a lot of times members will post in the group, Nico, does this look like the beginning stages of an M? And they send a screenshot of this, and then they have this drawn in. And I'm like, yeah, it would, as long as this does this. But until that happens, it's an N, not an M. Not only that, but what does this look like? If this happened really fast, I would say this is a whipsaw, but it didn't. generally speaking, when there's a whipsaw, it's something goes up really high, falls all the way back down and comes back up, and then ends up in the same channel that it was in, which is this upward trending channel. Big whipsaw, boom, boom, and then back to doing the same thing it was doing before that happened. Sergio, what's the difference between trading contracts, BTC or USDT? Depends on what you want to make or what you want to accumulate. Do you want to accumulate more USDC? Do you want to accumulate more Bitcoin? I trade on a Bitcoin margin. If that's what you mean, trading or what margin is either Bitcoin or USDT. Because me personally, I'm trading to accumulate more Bitcoin. I also take trades in USDT against Bitcoin as well. So I'm totally open to making both money, US dollars, and Bitcoin. But that's really only the difference. If you make a trade in on a Bitcoin margin and you're profitable, you're making Bitcoin. You're not making US dollar or USDT. If you make a trade and you're profitable on USDT, you're making USDT. So let's just say that you do really well trading on USDT and Bitcoin goes up to 300,000, 500,000. And along the way, you went long, you went short, you went long, you went short, and you've made a lot of winning trades. Well, you've made a lot of USDT, but you don't have any Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has been growing from where it's at now, 109,000 to 300,000. You haven't accumulated any of it. You're probably going to be, that reminds me of house flippers. I used to flip houses. I used to wholesale houses. I wholesaled a bunch of houses. And if you don't know what that is, basically I would get a house under contract and I would sell the contract. I wouldn't buy the house, fix the house, or sell the house. I would just get the house under contract and I would flip the contract. That's called wholesaling. And I thought I was smart. It was easy. It was easy to do. Basically, what you're doing is you're making an offer to a seller to buy their house at a certain price. They agree. You give them the sales and purchase agreement. They sign it. And then I just go and sell the sales and purchase agreement to someone else for 5,000 or 10,000 more than I got it under contract for. And I would just make 5 or 10 grand and I would have no more obligation. I wouldn't have to fix the house. I wouldn't have to do anything. The problem with that is that's very transactional and you have to keep doing it to make money. And over time, what I learned is the guys I was selling the contracts to, they were buying those contracts for me, paying me the extra 10 grand, putting 10, 15 into the house, fixing it up, and then putting a tenant in there and renting it out. And 10 years later, I've wholesaled 50 houses, made good money, but they have 50 houses. They have 50 houses worth hundreds of thousands or millions at this point. And I don't have anything to show for all the houses I wholesaled because I spent the transactional money. That's the difference between investing, thinking smart, and just transaction. So if you're doing transactions, which there's nothing wrong with trading, guys, there's nothing wrong with transactional trading because you can take the USDT or the US dollars and buy and then go and invest that in something, right? If you're making a lot of money trading, you can take that and invest in something. So my only advice is that if you just make the money for the sake of making money and then you go spend it foolishly at the casino or traveling, or whatever, traveling's not foolish. You got memories. And by the way, what are you making money for in the first place? Obviously to improve your lifestyle, maybe to buy the things you've always wanted. So there's nothing wrong with buying things. I'm just saying that if you don't ever invest any of the money that you earn, then you'll always be having to earn money. You need to take
Hey,
some
Nico,
and invest it, otherwise it won't grow. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want you to talk about, I'm kind of doing USDT to pay off a few bills, and then I'm going to switch to BTC.
Kenneth, you're breaking up. I heard a little bit.
Could you kind of go over that again? Because I've heard you say it. Oh, can you hear me better now?
I can hear you now, but I missed a good portion of what you said.
Yeah. Okay, I'll start over. I'm doing USDT right now, but I'm going to switch to trading on Bitcoin. I'm trying to pay off a couple bills, but I like building the Bitcoin. And I've heard you say a couple times in the past that you can accumulate Bitcoin and then borrow against it and not pay taxes on it, but I haven't quite caught that. You know, I drive and I'm in and out like you just experienced. Could you go over that again when you get a chance? So maybe I
Yes.
can get it in my brain a little bit more again, because I like that idea.
Yeah, so guys, listen, it's in theory, it's perfect, right? In theory, you trade, you make Bitcoin instead of US dollars. Why? Because, well, in the perfect world is you would already have income or some other source of income to pay your bills that you don't need the trading profits to survive on. If you have some other source of income, some way to cover your expenses, which you obviously had before joining this group, right? Because you were living up until we met you, you were doing something to pay your bills. So if you can continue to do that while you're learning how to trade, and you, in a perfect world, if you could trade and accumulate crypto during a bull market, Bitcoin or any of these altcoins like Chads are trading and these other tokens that we might have a parabolic move to the upside here very soon in altcoin season, you can exponentially grow your wealth quicker by settling trades in that crypto, accumulating more of that stuff rather than US dollars. Because when you close a trade in US dollars or USDT, you're basically settling the score, settling the trade in cash, in US dollars. USDT is pegged to the US dollar, so it's the same thing as far as I'm concerned. And when you do that, you're holding an asset that's going down in value because US dollars purchasing power goes down at a rate of 8 to 10% per year. A lot of people don't believe that. They think, oh, well, inflation is only 4%. Bullshit. Inflation is probably way more than 10%. If you really want to factor in the printing of the dollar and everything else, all your other expenses, all your other taxes, consumption tax, utilities, everything else besides income tax, you're being taxed to death. And then the purchase and then the printing of the dollar and all these other things, right? So if you're settling in US dollars and accumulating US dollars, then you're accumulating an asset that's going down in purchasing power. And if you settle in Bitcoin and you're accumulating Bitcoin, you're settling in an asset that's going up at a rate of 100% per year overall over the last 10 years. Now, even if it doesn't stay going up at 100% per year, let's say it goes to 50% or 40% per year, that's still outpacing the S&P 500 by 30% at least. So if you can afford to settle in crypto or Bitcoin or anything, I think you'll be far better off in a couple of years, personally, because the value of that will go up exponentially. So let me just put it to you this way: if you had $1 million cash right now in the bank, and $1 million Bitcoin, and both, let's just say you had $1 million cash and $1 million worth of Bitcoin, in 10 years at the current rate, the purchasing power of your $1 million would be 200,000 in 10 years because of inflation, because of the depreciation of the US dollar, because they keep printing more of it. Your buying power will be 200 grand. You're losing 8 to 10% per year in purchasing power. On the other hand, your Bitcoin, even if it only went up 40% per year, but right now it's been going up 100%. So let's just keep that in mind. At 100% per year, your $1 million will be worth $10 million. Your purchasing power, $10 million, which would be 10 times, 100 times more than the US dollar at that time in 10 years. This is why we say that the more Bitcoin you have, the less expensive everything becomes in the future. Another way to look at that is that if you could buy a house right now for 100,000 cash, you would need $100,000 to buy that house, but you would only need one Bitcoin to buy that house. Because a Bitcoin is $100,000, let's just say, right? But when Bitcoin gets to $1 million per Bitcoin, you would still need $100,000 to buy that house, let's just say. But you would only need 1/10 of a Bitcoin. You see, the more Bitcoin you have, the less expensive everything becomes. I know sometimes it's hard to wrap your brain around that, but the reality is, guys, is we're buying and selling these trades, and we're cashing out in an asset that is less valuable than the one we're trading in, which is kind of, I don't know, to me, it's a little ignorant. It's dumb if you really understand what's going on. So I'm not calling anybody dumb by any way. We need money, right? We need to pay our bills. So I don't blame anybody for trading. Not only that, but if you trade in Bitcoin and you close in Bitcoin and you make a Bitcoin profit, you can always convert the Bitcoin to US dollars anytime you want.
You think that's true for Ethereum also?
I would say yes, Ethereum is probably going to be worth $10,000 or $20,000 in the near future. As much as I don't like Ethereum and all the problems they've had, they are almost every other crypto that is meaningful operates on the ETH blockchain, the Ethereum blockchain.
Hey, Nico, you mentioned in the past that like Chase was setting up some kind of accounts where you could accumulate crypto into the account and then borrow against it and then pay it back, but you're not paying taxes on what you're taking out because it's a loan. Do you remember talking about that?
Yeah. Yeah. So in the near future, and they're working on it right now, there's other lending platforms that you can borrow against your crypto or right now, and they've been there. I mean, when we first started Crypto Renegades 4 or 5 years ago, we were using Nexo. Nexo, you can deposit crypto in Nexo, kind of like a Coinbase type situation, and you can just borrow against it. You can borrow US dollar, you can buy more Bitcoin with the borrowed money. The problem with Nexo is it's kind of like it's a decentralized platform, so you do need to use a VPN because they are outside of the US regulations. So you might feel a certain way about that, but we were doing it. We had no problems doing it. But in the near future, banks will become custodians. That's already in the works. They're already talking about it. They will loan against your Bitcoin just like they loan against your house right now. And just like they loan against stock portfolios already. If you have a nice stock portfolio, you can borrow against that. And you can talk to E-Trade or Fidelity, any of the financial trading platforms or institutions that you're holding those portfolios through, and they will show you how you can do that. But soon, Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, Truist, all the big banks are going to allow. First of all, they're becoming crypto friendly. And they will, when you open a checking account or a savings account, you will also have a BTC wallet and all the majors. You're going to have a wallet for all the majors, just like on Coinbase, just like you can on Cash App, just like you can. Coinbase became a bank for crypto. And all the banks, and Coinbase became a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange and became bigger than most of the banks in a very short period of time. And the banks are probably regretting the fact that they didn't jump on that bandwagon, because if banks the banks probably saw billions of dollars getting transferred out of people's bank account, checking accounts, going to Coinbase and crypto.com every day. And some banks didn't like that to the point where they stopped you from doing it. How many of you ever had a problem transferring from your bank to Coinbase or crypto.com or buying anything through your checking account or debit card? They don't like it. The reason why they let you do it on Coinbase is because Coinbase is a centralized exchange on the New York Stock Exchange, is publicly traded, and it's also heavily invested in by Chase Bank. But they're going to be, Morgan Stanley, Chase. These guys are some of the biggest hedge fund managers who are now, they have Bitcoin ETFs now. And so part of that is going to all be kind of filtered down to the regular customer. And these products, they're going to be products, guys. Lending products. You're going to see brochures at your bank, borrow against your Bitcoin. It's going to happen. And what you would do is you would transfer your Bitcoin from Coinbase or wherever you have it, Phoenix or wherever, to your wallet address at the bank. They're going to provide you with your own wallet address. They will become custodians. They will loan against that asset, and they will hold your Bitcoin as collateral. The good thing about it is it's still your Bitcoin. If Bitcoin continues to go up from 100,000 to 500,000 to $5 million over the next 10 years, you can pay back your loan from the increased value of the collateral that they're holding. On the other hand, if you got $1 million of the Bitcoin and you borrow $500,000 against it, and Bitcoin drops 50% in value after that, they will probably collateralize your Bitcoin to pay back the loan. But how does that hurt you? It doesn't. Let's just give that example real quick. You got $1 million cash. You borrowed 500,000 against it. Bitcoin drops from $1 million down to 500,000 in value. Is that possible? Yes, of course. Anything's possible, right? Now you only have $500,000 with Bitcoin. They loaned you 500,000 because you had a million, because they only loaned you 50% of what your current total amount was. So now they're going to collateralize the remaining Bitcoin you have, which means they will take it and sell it to pay back the loan. But you walk with 500 grand tax free. Let's just say you didn't do that. Let's say you had $1 million of Bitcoin, and let's say you sold it, or let's say you sold half of it because you wanted 500 grand. So you sold half of it, but now you got to pay a capital gains tax 40%. So you really only get 300 grand. Then let's say Bitcoin drops 50% value from $1 million to 500,000. Now what? You sold half of your Bitcoin and paid a $200,000 tax, and now you got nothing left because Bitcoin dropped in value. So you're better off borrowing against it in either option. Now, on the other hand, what if Bitcoin continues to go up after you borrow? The only best option is to never borrow and never sell. But then what? How do you get to use it? How do you ever take advantage of it? If you're like Michael Saylor, who says he's never selling, then the only way to make money at that point is to, and not only that, but Bitcoin is the only thing that you can take with you when you die. Anybody understand that? If you die, someone else is going to get your house. If you die, someone else is going to get your bank account. The bank will take it. Someone else is going to get everything that you have. Everything, all the little trinkets, all the statues, and all the crap you have all goes to somebody. But if you die and no one has your code to your wallet, no one gets your Bitcoin. You can literally take it with you. You know how many wallets are sitting out there with millions of dollars of Bitcoin or crypto that no one can touch and no one can access or get to? Now, why would you do that? Why would you want to do that? You probably wouldn't. You probably you want to leave it to your children, you want to leave it to your spouse, you want to leave it to somebody, hopefully. But if you were that kind of person, you certainly could not leave it to anybody if you wanted. And guess what? You would be doing a favor to people if you didn't sell it and you just died with it. Why? Because if you had a lot of it, like Michael Saylor, and he died and left it to his daughter or something, and his daughter said, you know what, I don't like this Bitcoin, I want to sell it all, and she dumps $1 billion with Bitcoin on the open market because she wants money, that's going to cause the price of Bitcoin to drop. And all of us who are holding Bitcoin will lose value because of that. So Michael Saylor says he's never selling and he's dying with it. Billions and billions of dollars. So how does that help everyone else? It helps everyone, because if that's true and he never sells his billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, then that money, you'll never have to worry about the price dipping because of him selling. Interesting, to say the least. Any questions about trading, guys? I know I get off on tangents sometimes about things that you may not need to worry about right now, but someone did ask about the tax thing. So yeah, it increases the value of the network, Donnie. Great way to put it. I was trying to think of that, how to say that. Buy, borrow, die, Russ says. Yes, buy, borrow, die. That is what real estate investors do. That's what billionaires do. Jeff Bezos just had a, what, $50 million wedding. People look at this and they're like, how stupid. How could you be so stupid? Is he? Is he really? I mean, one of the world's richest men in the world was already married once, and once his wife divorced him, she became the richest woman in the world just from divorcing him. Did it hurt him? Did he pay her half of his net worth? She got 50 billion. What's he worth now? 300 billion. And he got married again with no prenup. To someone who's been married 4 times. I think he might have a prenup this time. I'm not sure. But I guess my point I was going to make is that when he bought his $200 million yacht, he did not pay cash for it. Well, he did, but he didn't pay from his profits. He borrowed against his stock portfolio, loan proceeds, tax-free. This is how all these guys fund their lifestyle, like Bill, like Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They live grandiose lifestyles on borrowed money, tax-free, because you don't pay taxes on loan proceeds. So this is the same thing I'm suggesting, that once you get your crypto accounts big enough or your wallet big enough on Bitcoin, you might want to consider borrowing against it rather than selling it. No need to kill the goose that's laying the golden eggs.
Hey, what's going on with BTC? It looks like it's breaking down.
A little bit of a pullback looks, yeah. Could be temporary. Sometimes whenever we pass a resistance level, which resistance level? Right about here. I'm gonna change this so it's not so. Let's go with blue. This one right here. As you can see, if I take it back, we had support, resistance, support, 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 resistance, resistance, support, resistance, 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 resistance. And we're coming down and we had support, breakthrough, resistance, support. Coming down to retest that, most likely. I put this right above these candles. That makes more sense. We also, guys, we did have a lower high here. I'm going to draw a line there just for now. We're still in an upward trending support, upward trending from all the way down here. And now we have horizontal resistance up here, which is this red line, which is the 109.7. We hit it here and we came back down here and then we're on our way back up and we did not yet make a higher high here. I mean, we do have some liquidity above us at 110.3, which is a little bit higher than where I put my take profit target. We also have some below us here at 107.9. Let's see where that's at. 107.9, right about, ooh, that's way down here. That's the support level down here. But hopefully this is just a, hopefully we're just going to hold support here and bounce. But it's concerning here because we do have a lower high here on this volume here. Maybe it's coming down to create a W.
Maybe you need to get off the lower time frames.
Absolutely. We do, but I'm scalping. So if we go to the higher time frame, guys, that's a good point. I usually say that to everyone when they're wondering what's going on. But we are still trending up. And we already have a W, don't we? Have a nice W. Perfectly symmetrical, hitting resistance at the 109.2 with a possible breakout level at probably to the, I don't know, I would say right where we want to go. Somewhere up here in the 111 to 112 range. 111.9 to 112 range. Wilson says Bezos' wife, best trader of all time. Yeah, she traded up a few times. I can't possibly know. That's fun. Let's see. If you were talking about business, I think she started the business with him, the kitchen table. Yes, I agree. She deserved, that's why she got it. The first wife. Yep, she started with him from the beginning. Where can I find how to transfer BTC from Cash App to Femex? Do I need MetaMask? Bill already answered that. After school videos in Discord. I send funds so you can watch me do it. There's a link that Bill just posted in the Zoom chat explaining how to do that. Those were old questions. I apologize. I scrolled up. Any other questions, guys and gals? Did I answer the question that was already asked? I know it sometimes goes on the. I'm going to go back and show you some other things that I'm seeing here. Nico, how are these large companies setting up their BTC accounts? Beneficiaries? Good question. I'm not exactly sure, but there's ways, well, you're saying large companies. So Bill is answering the question, custodial accounts with beneficiary designation. You can use trust accounts. If you're just an individual, like a regular person, but like these large companies, the ones that are creating, that are putting Bitcoin on their balance sheets from their corporations, like Michael Saylor's doing, they might have totally different structures for that.
Nico, somebody had asked for you to look at the 6-month candle. I don't know if you did that already or not. The new one.
Yeah. So let's go look at 6-month time frame. We do have a red dot on the 6-month. That's interesting. On Market Cipher. So this was the fourth candle. So let's just go back here. So we have the bull market top, we have the bear market bottom, we have the first engulfing candle, and then you count 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth candle has always been the top on the 6-month time frame. And that one is 112. I'm sorry, this one here. First engulfing at 1, 2, 3, 4. This one right here, 112 was the top of that candlestick. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the top of the bull market, because here we are in the 5th candle right now. And on this fifth candle, this fourth candle printed, so it's done. It's never going to get any higher. 112 was the top. Here we are on the fifth candle, and it is green, but it is sitting at 109. It has not gotten higher yet than the fourth candle. And the only time in Bitcoin's history that the fifth candle got higher than the fourth candle was in 2021. And as you can see here, it went up to 68K and then came right back down. This one was at 64.5, something like that. It went up a little higher and then came back down. But if you go back throughout all the other bull markets, the fourth candle was always higher. The fifth candle did try to get up as high, but it never did. And that was the beginning of the bear market. Fourth candle, fifth candle tried to get up there, but never did. Beginning of bear market. Fourth candle, fifth candle tried, but didn't get up. And then that was the beginning of the bear market, so on and so forth. So fourth candle is always the highest on the 6 month, just to recap that. So now that we're in the fifth candle, let's go to the 12-month time frame. This is the 12-month. As you can see, right here, 12-month. And the next best way to do this is, instead of worrying about the 6 month, now we're on the 12-month, and all you got to do is go to every bull market top. Here's the bull market top from 2013, and then you just count 4 candles after that. Instead of, like on the 6 month time frame, I always said go to the bear market bottom, look at the first engulfing candle, and then count 4 candles after that. On the 12-month time frame, all you got to do is count 4 candles after the bull market top. So bull market top, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the bull market top. Bull market top, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the bull market top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever this candle ends up at will be the top. And we got 5 months and 23 days left of this candle. But this candle includes the fourth candle on the 6 month time frame, and the top was 112. So it is possible also that this fifth candle here doesn't get higher than 112, but you won't know if it will or not until 5 months is over. Certainly possible, and this time can be different. You know, people say this time is different. We got the crypto president, we got all this stuff going on, Michael Saylor, we got all these people, billions of dollars going in from all the different hedge funds, and it's just crazy this time, and we're going to hit 150, 160, 200,000, whatever. All kinds of YouTubers talking about parabolic move to the upside, all kinds of, you know, professional traders talking about parabolic coming. And I certainly am not going to argue against it. I'm not going to say that can't happen, because it certainly can. We are, you know, we do have technically 6 months left of the bull market. We have all 5 months and a certain amount of days, generally speaking. It's just that when you look at history, that fifth candle, the one we're in right now, on the 12-month, on the 6 month, that fifth candle, generally speaking, just never did get higher. But, you know, also look at this, guys. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 green candles in a row. Never has happened before. 1, 2, 3 in that bull market. 1, 2, 3, 4 in that bull market. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that bull market. 1, 2, 3, 4 in that one. But now we got 6. So either 5 months from now, this candle will still be green and the next candle will print. And this will be a record. World record. Never happened before. 6 candles in a row green. Or this candle will turn red, and then we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green candles, which is typical of a good bull market. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But this time could be different. This time could be different for sure. And I don't even say that sarcastically. This could be different. It is different. So far, strange things are happening, right? Let's go to the 3 month, the 2 month, the one. Let's go to the 1 month.
People are getting smarter they're gonna have to do something bigger than just a fake Iran war to get the markets to tank.
Yeah, that's a good, I'm glad you brought that up because generally speaking, whenever there's some kind of catastrophic news event or announcement, even if it's as simple as Jerome Powell talking about interest rates, or if it's Donald Trump speaking at the crypto conference in Vegas, which he did last year. You guys remember when he was up on stage talking before he got elected as president, he was talking about if he gets elected, he is going to be pro crypto. He's going to create a Bitcoin reserve. I mean, it was nothing but positive, positive, positive. Everything was great. And while he was actually speaking, Bitcoin dropped $20,000. It was insane. We were like, what in the hell is going on? So it's like the government, the US government, the Biden administration was literally selling the Bitcoin to make Trump look bad. At least that was our theory at the time. Why else would it be dumping during his announcement? And why is that possible? Because the Biden administration had a lot of Bitcoin that they already threatened that they were going to sell. Not threatened, but they said they were selling because, they confiscated it from somewhere. I don't know where, but they have Bitcoin. And they did. They dumped it on Trump while he was talking. And I don't know if this is to confuse people or to make people think that this is why we say in our group, whenever there's an announcement coming up, a Fed rate cut or whatever, you should not be in a trade. You should wait for the dust to settle. You should not be long or short during that because we usually see huge whipsaw ups and downs very quickly during these types of things. It's a little dangerous because people are betting on what's going to happen rather than waiting to see what happens. In trading, if you're good at trading, you're trading. What you should be trading is not what you think is going to happen, but we trade based on what is happening. It's reactive instead of proactive. That's the one time that being proactive is not necessarily a good thing because you don't want to go long or short based on what might happen or what you think is going to happen if it does this or if it does that. We trade here based on if this, then that, if this, then that, if that, then this. If it goes above this line and holds a support, then we're going long. If it goes down and hits this line and bounces, we're going long. If it goes through this line and retest as resistance, we're going short. So you should wait for that to happen first instead of saying, I think it's going to go through this line, so I'm going to go short now. So yeah, so the 6 month is done. The 6 month candle, the 4 candle is already printed. It's 112 was the top. Now we're in the 5th candle, and we got 5 months left of that, of this next candle, which is 5 months and 23 days. And so this candle that we're in right now, why does it actually look like it went higher? Let me get rid of some of these lines here. Got so many lines. Okay, so 112 obviously was the top. Right here. And of the 6 month candle of the fourth candle, and we're currently in. Shit, it's not gonna- Currently in the fifth candle here, and right now we're sitting at 109,194. We just need to get above 112 in order to prove this whole theory wrong. Oh, damn. Bitcoin did come down a little bit, didn't it? Let's go back and look on the lower time frame. Yeah, not that much. Still kind of retesting that level we were just talking about. Could very well come down and hit this upward trending support again. My stop loss is at 108,743 still down here. Not overly concerned about it unless it breaks the upward trending support. So let's see. Mike says FOMC in 20 minutes. From, oh, it's at 2 p.m. Eastern. We'll see if that makes a difference in the world. Not sure what they're going to be talking about. But, you know, they usually talk about monetary policy and things like that. Could make a big difference. Marlon says we can read about how they're going to make us miserable a little longer. Yeah, could be. Any other questions that I didn't answer? I'm scrolling to see if there are, but this is funny. I gotta save this.
Hey Nico, I'm looking at the 15 minute. Does it look like the market makers took the market up a little bit to get the open interest up and then took it right back down? I mean, just to get some movement, get some traders involved, trying to build up some momentum. Don't know which way they're going yet though.
Yeah, I mean we're in the middle of the week. It's bullish. The market is trending up. We're reaching, you know, we are hitting major resistance here, obviously at the 1097, which we have here all through here. We've been in this sideways trending channel, but we're trending back up towards it right now, but we already hit it once this morning. So does that mean we're coming back down to this level? We just did. We did that already too. We went up here and we came all the way back down to this level and bounced. Here's a similar situation where we came down to this level, bounced, did not make it quite as high, came back down to retest a certain level, this one, and then went higher. It's kind of what we're doing right now. I don't know. You know, it's hard to say what market makers are doing, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie and say that I have any clue as to what's actually happening on the biggest levels. I don't think anybody really knows.
Yeah, because I noticed they were holding that resistance around the 109 area, like 109.2 for a while, like since last Friday, and it finally broke this morning. That's just enough to
Yeah.
get some interest.
Yeah. And as you can see, it did it back here as well. We had resistance here, support and resistance. We went down pretty far, actually, all the way down to, 107 here, and then came back up, hit it, went through, hit it up here, and then came all the way back down, came all the way back up, came all the way back down twice. Big M pattern here, and then dropped. I mean, we did not have a double top here like we had here, but something similar could happen. And if we break this up with trending support, it's very possible just to come back down to these levels. First this one, then this one. But guys, I mean, the big move is obviously when we break major resistance. This is what we're up against right here, which is the 1097. And when we come up here and get through that and hold as support, we're definitely coming up to retest the 1010.2. And if we get through that, we got the 112 up here. So I have these lines already on my chart. I'm waiting for this to see, it's if this, then this, if this, then this. If this holds, then this. If this breaks, then this. I try not to think past that because there's no sense of living in the imagination or in the imaginary future when we're not there yet. That's usually the cause of everyone's pain and misery. Living in the past or the future. The past has already happened. You can't change it, do anything about it. The future hasn't happened. But when we dwell on it, we worry about things that have not, may not, and will not ever happen. Usually the worst things. And I forget who it was, but I think it was Mark Twain. Can't remember. He said the worst things that have ever happened to me never actually happened. Speaking of always thinking the worst and living in the future. So, it's just better to sometimes trading is boring. You're sitting here waiting for things to happen, guys, and we're just being patient. We're sitting on our hands waiting. And I think a lot of people, I do notice that a lot of people are like anxious. Oh man, I just want a trade setup. What should I do? Should I go long? Should I go short? Sometimes you gotta wait. I mean, I am long right now, but sometimes you gotta wait. There ain't nothing happening at the moment. This was the big pump this morning. The big drop since then and bounce, and kind of waiting for a breakout of this resistance or this support. That's really all there is going on right now. It is Wednesday, however, guys, and coming up in 10 minutes, Bill is doing the basics call. That's right, Laura. We live in our heads. Bill, the thief on the left and the thief on the right. That's good. Bill posted the link to the basics call in the Zoom chat that we're on right now, but also in the Trade Signal channel. If you go into trade chat, it's probably right there. Here it is. Basics call, 2 p.m. Eastern. If you go into the announcements channel, it's probably right here. There it is. Basics of FEMAX. And it's also on the Zoom chat that we're on right now. And make sure you guys get on, especially if you're new, and even if you're not that new. There's a lot of people that have basics questions and they're scared to ask, or sometimes they ask on this call, which is okay. I'll answer any question, but that call that Bill does, guys, that is a must, especially if you haven't really understood the basics yet. So I am long. I'm going to stay in this little long position until I either get stopped out or close the trade in profit up here at the 102.10 zone. Did I put a TP? No, but I will. Where did I put? Did I put a TP up here? I'm going to put one in right now at 110, 200. 110,200. Whoops. For the time being. It's not a huge move to the upside, but here it is on the board. And if this starts to move back up, I will probably move my stop loss to break even. But if it starts to come down and breaks this upward trending support, I want to see if it comes through and goes back up like it did here. Only in that case might I move my stop loss down below the moving average just to see. But the reason why I'm not going to right now is because if it does want to come down and get this liquidity down here at the 107.9 first before it goes up, then it's going to stop me out no matter what. There's no sense of me moving. I'm not going to move my stop loss down here that far just to get a 20% gain up here, right? So I think that it's very possible that we might head up before we head down. But if you just look at history, every time we hit this level so far, we came back down. We hit it, came back down far. Hit it, came back down. Hit it. What's more likely? That the trend repeats or it finally breaks out?
Almost looks like a higher low on the 15-minute.
Right here or this one here? This is a lower high. What part is a higher low? I'm sorry.
On the 15-minute time frame, it
That's
makes
what I want.
a higher low on mine.
A higher low. Oh yeah, yeah. Right here, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. These are all higher lows. Yep, it's trending up. But we also had a lower high. We had a high and then a lower high. So
Yeah, I
now,
guess.
now we're coming into this little apex here. Inside of this apex here. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm hoping it bounces and then breaks out of this because that's happened already. Let's just look. I mean, we had a high and then a lower high, and we still bounced here. We had a high, lower high, lower high, and still bounced here. High, lower high, we could still bounce here. Every time it's done that, it went higher afterwards. So we had a high, lower high, bounced, high, double. Well, that was a double top right there. So yeah, we'll see. If it breaks this upward trending support, that's been going on since 2 days ago, right here. Trending up. And it already hit the top of the major resistance, which is the 109.7. If it, if it continues to trend up, it's either going to break to the upside of that or break back down. So that's what I'm waiting for to see. As of right now, we don't have enough time to sit here and watch. So I will let you guys know in the chat if I see anything different, but I have my stop loss set already at 108.743 and my TP at 110.200. And we are in an upward trend and we are banging against resistance and we're in a little bit of an apex right here with this blue line. But even if you take away the blue line, we are in an apex right here. We are upward trending support and horizontal resistance. The floor and the ceiling.
Nico, which market are we in now? Is that now the US market and all the other ones are closed?
No. The other ones are, well, I mean,
Well, Bitcoin is 24/7, I guess, but
yeah, I mean, crypto's 24/7, but I think we do got the Asian market coming up, right? That they're coming alive here soon. I'm not sure. I can't remember the time zones for that. Bill or Chad might know.
Nico, do you have time for a quick question about, you had said before that you were going to sell your Bitcoin when we start down in the bear market. Are you actually going to sell it, or can we convert it to USDT and leave it on, like at Femex, so that there isn't a a taxable event.
Yeah, I'm not selling. I've never said that. I'm shorting.
Right.
There's a difference. So selling is I'm selling it and exchanging it back to US dollars. Shorting is I'm betting that the price is going to go down and I'm going to accumulate more Bitcoin on the way down.
Okay, so you will leave your Bitcoin in your account and just use a little bit, certainly probably not all of it, to short each time you have a short contract.
Correct. Yep. And so
Well,
my goal is, let's say Bitcoin goes from 112,000 all the way back down to 80 in the next bear market. Let's say I have one Bitcoin. Let's say that's all I have is one Bitcoin. If I'm sitting on that one Bitcoin, and then that one Bitcoin goes down in value from 112 to 80. And then I gotta wait for the next bull market for that one Bitcoin to go back up all the way to 112 just for me to get back the same value I had right now, right? And then it's got to go up higher than that for that Bitcoin to be worth more.
right,
If I
right,
have one Bitcoin and I short at 112 in the next bear, when I know the bear market's starting, let's just say it's 112 and I short, and Bitcoin goes down to 80, by the time it gets to 80, I could have two Bitcoin. So
right,
yeah, the value of it's lower, but now I have more of it. And so now when it starts to climb back up in the next bull market and gets back up to 112, I don't have $112,000, one Bitcoin for 112,000. I have two Bitcoins for 224,000. And then when it starts to go higher than that, I'm also going long with more contracts as well. By the way, I've already went long at 80. So by the time it gets back to 112, I might have 3 or 4 Bitcoins.
Well, that really makes sense. But what if I have two Bitcoins, but I don't want to short with both of them? What would be the best thing to do with the other Bitcoin?
Yeah, if you know for sure that if you know for sure that Bitcoin's going to drop from 115 all the way back down to 80, like if I had a crystal ball and I knew that, would
Right,
it be smart? It would probably be smarter to convert the Bitcoin to USDT at 115 and then wait for 180. And then once we know it's confirmed that the bear market's over and the bull market's starting, you buy back in at 80 with the
right,
115 that you have in USDT. And now you're buying, instead of having that one Bitcoin, you're buying $80,000, an $80,000 Bitcoin plus another 30, 40, another half a Bitcoin, right? On top of it, right? So now you got
right,
half Bitcoins going into the next bull market.
right,
So in a perfect world, that sounds like what you should do, right?
right.
And you can do that. You can do that with half and then take the other Bitcoin that you have and you can short and try to earn more Bitcoin on the way down. So you could do that. But technically speaking, is that a taxable event when you do that, when you convert it to USDT? I'm not sure. There's some people that will say it is, but I'm not going to pretend to be a tax expert on that. I do know that some people will say, yes, that's taxable because you are converting it, but you're converting it to another crypto, which is USDT, but it is pegged to the US dollar. You would have to sell that USDT to get the US dollar also. So, and then send it back to your bank account. But, it's hard to say. If you bought that Bitcoin at 50 and then sell it at 115 or convert it to USDT at 115, then technically you made a $60,000 profit. So, you just got to be careful with that. Whether you report it or not is up to you. I'm not telling you what to do. No one's probably checking. And I say that as a reality, not as a way to get around things, because I'm not advocating anybody do anything illegal. I pay a lot of taxes, trust me. I'm arguing with my CPA and my accountant all the time to try to get my tax liability down. But I also have multiple businesses and also invest in real estate, and I'm trying to do cost segregations and things like that. But when it comes to trading, nobody really understands what's going on. And the IRS certainly can't keep track of all this. They're understaffed. They're years behind. They're antiquated. I went to the IRS to see if I get an extension one time to make a payment arrangement on back taxes or something like that. And they wanted me to come in person and fill out a form. I said, can you email it to me and I can sign it and send it back? No, but you can come pick up the form and you can fax it to us. I said, fax it to you? I said, what are you in? Are you in like 1980? You can't email me something. You can't send me a DocuSign. I have to come down. And when I went down, I had to stand in line for 3 hours. So we're talking about an organization that is so outdated and antiquated and so behind and so understaffed that they have no clue what's going on. And now they're being defunded to a big degree. And they're, who wants to be an IRS agent? Who even believes that you should be paying taxes? It's getting to that point. Now we got a president talking about getting rid of income tax and eliminating taxes on profits in US in crypto, as long as you made it in the US. There's so much going on right now. I wouldn't even worry about that, to be honest with you.
Okay, thank you.
That's just my opinion. But I'm still complying with all the laws because I don't want to have any problems with the IRS. It's better to maybe be able to sleep at night than worry about it. But trust me, the last thing I want to do is give hard-earned money over to an organization that is funneling it through ridiculous waste and fraud throughout the world and getting it siphoned back to politicians who are living large on taxpayer dollars. That's when I hear about that shit, makes me want to get everybody to protest the IRS and not pay. But at the same time, as long as it's the law, I'm going to still follow the law.
Thank you.
So anyway, that
Thank
being
you.
said, read between the lines. Yeah, Marlon said maybe some of the House bills for crypto they are bringing into the floor next week will clear some of that up. It is true, guys. There's a lot of big changes happening, a lot of tax breaks, a lot of deductions, a lot of new things happening. I would be hesitant to even speak on it right now. My accountant doesn't even know what's going on. My CPA definitely can't advise me on crypto. He doesn't know anything about it. And by the way, CPAs and accountants, no offense to them, but they are sworn to follow the IRS code. Their job is not to help you get around paying taxes. Their job is to help you comply with the tax code. You need tax strategists to get around shit. People who know how to do things legally. You'll notice if you just ask your accountant, your CPA, any questions like how do I do this? How do I do it? They'll say, listen, I wish I could tell you. I can't, legally I'm not allowed to tell you. That's the way they talk. They know what you can do, but they're not allowed to tell you that. They can lose their license.
Same with attorneys and lawyers.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to speak on that because I've had my share of dealings with the IRS. They're a pain in the ass. And they're unfortunately a necessary evil in the society that we live in right now. But I think it is totally usury and legal thievery. S&P hitting all-time highs at 62.49 at the moment. Thanks, Marlon. This is very strange times we live in, guys. We got all kinds of indicators telling us we're at the top, but yet the stock market's hitting all-time highs. Bitcoin is right up against all-time highs. A breakout is imminent one way or the other. We're either going to pop to upside and continue a parabolic move, or we're going to have a pullback. Either can happen. I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know which one is going to happen. I just know that where we are in the grand scheme of things, either one of those things can happen. So what I'm doing is I'm getting ready for both. I'm getting ready for either thing to happen. I'm long in the short term. I'm still short in a negative position on a possibility, not a probability, but a possibility that we could be at the top. And if I'm right, I'll make a lot of money on the way down. But if I'm wrong, I could go more negative and possibly get liquidated. So that's a risk I'm willing to take on one of my sub accounts. And I've taken that risk before and it didn't work out, but I've also taken it before and it did work out. So, that's just me. I allocate a certain amount of funds for high risk ventures, high risk trading, high risk other ventures. I've taken high risk investments before. Some worked out, some didn't. I'm not married. I don't have children that I have to put through college. I don't have anybody who I'm betting their future on. So if you're not in that position, don't do it. Don't do as I do sometimes. Just do what I'm showing you how to do. Learn how to do it and then make your own decisions. I don't want anybody coming to me saying, Nico, I did what you did and I got wrecked. I didn't tell you to do it. So just keep that in mind. Whenever you see a signal from me in the signal channel or chat, that's what we're showing you to do. That's what we're doing. And you can do it if you want. That's a trade signal, but we're not telling you to do it, anything. So just be adults about that. Realize you're making your own decisions. But if you do something that is not what we said, or goes against the signal, or goes against anything that we've ever recommended or taught in here, then you're definitely making decisions on your own. And the consequences, hopefully it works out for you. Guys, there's a lot of people in this group who did the opposite of what we told them, and it worked. There's a lot of people who will go kamikaze on a trade, bet the farm, no stop loss, throw everything at a direction, not even knowing what they're doing, and it works. And they make a lot of money. That happens all the time. They get lucky. And then they think they're an expert. They think they're a genius, and then they do it again, and then they give it all back. So you just got to be careful. We've seen it happen multiple times. And the ironic thing about it is a lot of times when you don't know what you're doing and you take a trade, you just throw a dart at the wall. A lot of times it will actually work the first time you do it. And that's not necessarily a good thing because it breeds confidence in something that was the wrong way to do. You just got lucky. So learn the skill, learn how to do it, and get more precise at it, become precision at it. Then you can sit on your hands and not be by the way, I'm back up. Let's just go back to this real quick before we end the call. Bitcoin did bounce on this line right here and spiked up really sharp and getting back above that line. Up $200 now on this trade. Good thing I didn't change anything, close the account. We want to wait, sit on our hands. That's the patience I'm talking about. Sometimes you just got to wait for things to happen. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. Any last minute questions before we hop off here? Let me see. You're welcome, Marlon. Thank you, Nico. Best info for sure. Diane, thank you. Daryl, not a genius. Not sure who you're talking about, me or you. Tommy, thank you. Nico. Yeah, I'm definitely not a genius. Thank you, sir. Awesome as usual. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. If you have any questions after we get off this call, get on the basics call with Bill. Bill's got all the answers. Not just some of the answers. He's got pretty much all the answers. So make sure you get on that call, or you can just ask it in the main chat or send a DM. We'll make sure to get it answered for you. Also, we are doing a live webinar tomorrow for the public. So if you guys want to get on that, just ask for the link in the main chat. We usually post it in there. It's also being posted in our free Facebook group. And we're trading live on that call as well. So it's just another extra call that you can get on. And by the way, I want to thank those of you who always get on that call, like Angie and Paul Young. You guys are always on there. Bill, just thanks a lot for always getting on that call and helping out in the chat. We appreciate that. And it does not go unnoticed. There's a lot of questions. Sometimes we have 200 or 300 people on those Zooms, and a lot of questions. And some of you who are already in the mastermind are on there answering them and helping us out in the chat and reaffirming what we're talking about as members. And we definitely appreciate you for doing that. So you don't have to do it. You don't have to show up on those calls, but if you do, we thank you. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on the live call on Friday or tomorrow's public Zoom, public webinar, and also in the chat. Talk to you later.